Welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. I hope everyone's doing okay these days and getting into the swing of things a little bit more. I thought today we would do one of my favorite poses, and not because it's super fun, but because it's kind of challenging. So revolved triangle pose. And from the sound of it, you think that you go into triangle pose and then just twist your body, but it's quite a bit more involved than that. And in fact, the setup for the feet is a lot more like pyramid pose. So don't worry about it. We'll get into it. It's not a big deal. For this, though, it's going to be really useful if you can have something, either a yoga block or a sturdy hardcover book or like a big tin or a jar, something that can bring the ground up to you. And the added bonus would be if it could give you some stability. Like even like a box of tissues like Kleenex or something like that would work really well if you don't have one of these. And if you don't have anything like that, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world, hopefully. Okay, find a tall seat. You can be cross-legged or on your shins, legs outstretched, whatever feels comfortable for you. You might sit up on a prop or a pillow just to give your hips a little bit of a release. And then for 3 breaths, inhale deeply through your nose. And exhale, sigh. And breath away. A couple more, just like that. And continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing. If you feel any sticky or choppy spots along the way, you might gently try to lengthen through those parts to smooth the breath out a little bit more without forcing it, without really actively changing the breath. It shouldn't be a struggle. It should still feel slow and sweet. Last few breaths here. And we'll start to bring the breath into the upper chest a little bit more. So it's not so much of a deep pumping belly breath. It's more up from the rib cage and upward. Because sometimes when we're getting into deep twists, having the deep belly breath can interfere with a deep twist, right? Having that pumping. So if you're able to keep the movement or the widening, the inhale in the upper torso, it can help you deepen your twist. So inhale here, raise the arms high as you exhale, bring the left arm forward, right arm behind you, so a little twist to the right. It can be super gentle, just warming up the twists with every inhale. Find a little bit more length through the spine with every exhale, maybe a little bit deeper of a twist, and then notice where you're breathing. If you're still doing the belly pump, can you bring the breath higher up? And then notice what that left hip is doing. It likes to sneak forward if you wrap it back around. One more breath here. And on your inhale, come back through center. You can raise your arms overhead if you want to. And then exhale over to the left. So easing into it. Inhale, finding more length through the spine. Exhale to deepen the twist. Wrap the right hip back. And then make sure that the spine is long. So you're not rounding or slumping as you twist. Breath in the upper chest, or the ribs at least, rather than the belly. Last couple breaths here. And then inhale back through center, shake it out a little bit, and then come onto hands and knees. So setting up with knees underneath hips, toes can be tucked or untucked, hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Spread your fingers really wide. Inhale, lift the tailbone. Hollow through the lower back, broaden through the collarbones, little wiggle here. And then exhale, round through the spine. Tuck the tailbone under, really press through the shoulder blades. Inhale, slowly dip the belly. And exhale, round through the spine. So a few more of these cat and cow undulations. And as always, there might be some other kind of movement that feels really good here. And it might look nothing at all like cat and cow. And then slowly come back to center, hands and knees, little draw of belly button to spine. Turn to face first. And then staying just on hands and knees, take your left or right hand over in front of the left hand and sit the hips back a little bit. So similar to the stretch that we do when the legs cross behind, but just getting into the low back. You might feel this along the line of the lats. And then inhale back through center. And then other side. Left hand comes in front of the right. Sit the hips back a little bit. You could be up on fingertips or maybe you're down on your palm, whatever feels better for you. And then slowly press yourself back up. Hands and knees. Tuck the toes. As you exhale, lift the hips up and back to downward facing dog. All right, you can wiggle it out. If this is your first down dog of the day, you might need a little bit more movement here. Pedaling the heels toward the floor. And then slowly start to find a little bit of stillness, belly button to spine, reach the sit bones back, press the floor away with the hands, little active hug of the upper arm bones toward each other. And then let the head hang loose. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. Bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat. Standing forward fold. As always, anything that you feel like you need here, whether you're resting your elbows on your knees or thighs, or maybe you have a block or two to bring underneath your hands on whatever height works for you. You could also clasp opposite elbows with hands for more traction along the spine. A little bounce or sway. If your arms are crossed, take the opposite crossing. Last few breaths here. And if your arms are crossed or you have a bind on the hands, release the fingertips toward the floor. And with your fingertips to your shins, or maybe the earth, inhale, lift up partway and lengthen through the spine. I want you to pause here. We're going to blueprint this activation through the upper body. Right? So it's lots of work through the hamstrings, lots of work through the core, the erector spinae, everything on the back line of the body, keeping that length in the spine, rather than lifting up with the tailbone tucked under and a rounding through the spine. Send the tailbone, the sit bones back, beam the heart forward, and then exhale, let it all go. Couple more like that. Inhale. Exhale, let go. And then bend the knees, tuck the tailbone under now, and slowly start to roll up. Just standing head heavy, arms heavy, until eventually you come all the way up. Couple loops of the shoulders, up, back, down. Little wiggle, noodle, whatever you need to do to release. And welcome to standing. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, let it go. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Same thing. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. Last time. A little partway lift and fold. Inhale all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. And then you might pause here, hands in prayer, or hands by your side. Couple breaths. And gently flick your eyelids open. Shake it out a little bit. Okay. Bring your feet together. Big toe mounds touching. There can be a little space between your heels. And then notice to be here, my knees naturally hyperextend. You don't want to do that. So keep that little buoyancy on the knees. I just realized I was doing it. So a lot of the cues that I give you are actually for me as well. Don't worry about it. Inhale, sit into chair pose. So hips down and back. All right, so you're coming into this sort of lightning bolt shape. Tailbone down, just so you feel the belly button engaged toward the spine without tucking under, but you also don't want it lifting up. Use these big inner thigh muscles. Hug the legs toward each other like crazy. Bring the hands to prayer. Inhale here. Exhale, twist to the right. Bring the left elbow maybe to the knee. Maybe just be hand to the knee, one hand to the sacrum. If you're able to deepen the twist, then deepen the twist. Now, right away, check in with that left knee. It likes to sneak forward. Can you ring or wrap it back? Hug the legs toward each other, hips low, heart high. And this is a deep twist. So keep the breath up in the chest. You might press palm into palm. You might come to fingertips. Last breath here. Inhale, unwind. Exhale, release, forward fold. Heels with the feet apart, hip width. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, fold. On your inhale, step your right leg back. Release your back knee to the floor or to your handy dandy chip foam block or a pillow, whatever you might have. And then inhale, come up for half kneeling. So hug your legs toward each other. Tuck the tailbone under slightly. Squeeze the bum, belly button to spine, shoulder blades on the back, and then start to sink into the front knee. Really getting into those hip flexors on the back leg. Ground the front heel a little bit more. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. Now, you're not really going to be tucking the tailbone under a lot here, but imagine that little tilt of the tailbone forward. Okay. Bring your hands to prayer. Lean forward on a long line. Inhale here. Exhale, twist to the opposite side. To the left this time. Maybe it's one hand to the knee, one hand to the sacrum. Maybe you're able to hook the elbow and come to palm to palm. And then press the elbow into the knee, knee into elbow, palm to palm to deepen the twist. Bring the breath into the upper chest. Some of you might stay here. Some of you might choose to tuck the back toes and charge the back leg towards straight. So few breaths, either in twisted low lunge or twisted high lunge. Last couple breaths here. And then inhale, come back to center, release the back knee to the floor, it's lifted. Shift your hips back, extending through the front leg, half splits. A little release for the glutes on that front leg. Wrap that right hip forward as you draw the left hip back. You can even have your hands on your hips to do that. Right? You can point and flex through those front toes. You could rock side to side. Hands could be on hips or on blocks or maybe on the floor. But really finding that wrap of the hips, and that will come in handy later. Flare the toes on the front foot, and then peel them back toward your face a little bit more. Okay, little bend in the front knee, heel into the front foot, over to the right now. And then extend or re-extend through that front leg, and then even bring your thumb into that left hip crease. Pull the left hip back, and now we're getting all along the outside edge of that left leg through the IT band-ish area. Really, it's the muscles that attach the IT band. That is such a thick band of fascia, you can't really stretch it, not on your own devices. Anyway, last couple breaths here. Maybe you twist a little bit more to the left. Oh, yeah. And then slowly bend the knee, heel into the front foot. Back, step forward, standing forward fold. And release, bounce and sway, whatever you need. Cough. And then fingertips to shins or blocks. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let go. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Little wiggle, little shake out. Awesome work. Bring the feet together again. Big toe mounds touching. Belly button to spine. Don't hyperextend your knees, Emily. I hope none of you. I'm talking to myself. If you're named Emily, don't worry. Inhale, chair pose. Tailbone down, belly button to spine, hands to prayer. Hug those big inner thigh muscles toward each other. Inhale, lengthen through the spine a little bit more. Exhale, twist to the left. So maybe it's one hand to the knee, one hand to the sacrum. Finding it a little bit more of an open twist, particularly if you're expecting or pregnant or both. Wrap that right knee back in line. And then bring the breath into the upper chest to deepen the twist, if you wish. Hips low, heart high. Last couple breaths here. And then inhale, unwind. Exhale, forward fold. Heel into the feet apart again, hip width. Little wiggle, little sway. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, lift up part way. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, step your left leg back. Release the back knee to the floor or to your chip foam block. And then come on up to half kneeling again. Hug the legs toward each other. Squeeze the bum, belly button to spine, shoulder blades on the back. And then shift into that front knee. Getting into the hip flexors on the back leg. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. Whatever works better for you. But the more you squeeze the bum, the more you will open into those hip flexors. Keep wrapping that front hip back slightly. Hands to prayer. Lean forward on a long line. Inhale here. Exhale, twist to the right. So whether the elbow comes to the knee or maybe just a hand, you might come here, pressing elbow into knee, and then palm into palm. Some of you might stay here. Some of you might choose to tuck the back toes, taking it into twisted high lunge. You could come to fingertips together, whatever you need. And then you can really feel the deep, deep twist on the belly. So take the breath up into the chest. One more breath here. Good. Inhale, unwind, release the back knee to the floor. Exhale, shift your hips back. Extending through that front leg. Point and flex the toes. Rock heel or side to side on the heel. And then find a bit of stillness. Wrapping the left hip forward as you draw the right hip back. Really flare the toes on that front foot. And again, if your knee naturally hyperextends, think of pressing just the big toe mound forward, and then it's almost impossible to hyperextend through that front knee. while you peel the rest of the toes back. It's a bit of a weird thing. Last couple breaths here. Almost the sensation that you're dragging the front heel back toward you. Okay, bend the front knee a little bit. Heel into the front foot over to the left now. And then maybe bring your thumb into your hip crease. Pull the right hip back, wrapping the left hip forward. Flare the toes again. Oh, one side might feel tighter than the other. Congratulations, you're human. It's all good. And then really feeling that little drag of the front heel back toward you. Last couple breaths here. Getting into that outside line. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. And then bend the front knee. Heel into the front foot. Back into neutral. And then step forward. Standing forward fold. Little wiggle. Little sway. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, lift up part way. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Couple breaths here. Either eyes open or closed, maybe hands by the side. And shake it out a little bit. Little noodle. All right. Let's work towards a revolved triangle, a revolved pyramid. So coming to the top edge of your mat, again, this is where if you have a block or whatever you're using to bring the floor up to you, like a Tupperware container, could be good. Now's the time to grab it. Okay. So the block is handy. And then hands to hips. I just want you to step your left leg back. Keep the right foot forward. So that back foot should be on a bit of an angle, but it's not all the way out, or the toes aren't pointing out to the side. Okay? So there's a little bit of an angle here, and then notice the hips want to open up. So you want to really wrap the front hip back, back hip forward, belly button to spine. Right? Find length here, hug the legs toward each other, and then hinging at the hips. Shift the hips back as you reach the upper body forward. Now the natural tendency here, if you haven't blueprinted that partway lift, is to round through the spine a little bit. But try to shift the sit bones back, beam the heart forward. Now's a really good time to bring a block inside that front foot for a little bit of support. Or hands to prayer. Notice that my spine is nice and long. Now maintaining that length, bring one hand, that left hand to the block or whatever you're using. Bring your right thumb into the hip crease on that right side. Really wrap that right hip back, belly button to spine. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist to the right. Now, as soon as we do that, that right hip wants to come forward. So keep wrapping it back, belly button to spine. This might be where you stay. Some of you might start to reach the top arm up to the sky. Really wrapping both shoulders onto the back. Maybe you look up. You don't have to. Some of you might bring that hand to the outside of the foot. But this is a lot of work. You're good probably where you are. Last couple of breaths here. And then slowly, unwinding. And then gently step forward. Whew. Lot of work, lot of stretch. Your glutes might be really fired up on that right side. Little wiggle. So we'll switch the opposite side. Left foot stays forward. Step the right leg back. And again, you don't want the foot too far turned out because we're going to be rotating against it. So if that foot's really in external rotation, it's very hard to find a deeper twist. Belly button to spine. Hands on the hips, maybe to start with. Wrap the back hip forward, front hip back, and then hinge at the hips. Really finding length through the spine. Pause here. Keep wrapping that left hip back. Belly button to spine. Hug the legs toward each other. Make sure you're not hyperextending those knees. So there's a little buoyancy here. See, there's a little bit of play in my knee. Finding that length through the spine, you might bring your right hand to the block, more or less underneath your right shoulder, but a little bit closer into that front foot. Left thumb comes to the left hip crease. Wrap it back, finding that length through the spine slowly. Exhale, rotate. Option 1, option 2. Go where you need to go. Really wrapping that left hip back, right hip forward, belly button to spine, finding the length through the spine the whole time. And slowly unwind the twist. Bend into the front knee this time, step forward, standing forward fold. Little wiggle, little bounce. Inhale, lift up part way. Exhale, let it go. Good, bend your knees. Come back to hands and knees, little wiggle, little shake. Feels good. And then lie down onto your back. So that was quite a bit of strengthening work for the glutes, you might have noticed. So let's do a little bit of a glute stretch. Hug the knees into the chest. Little rock from side to side. Bring your left foot to the floor. Cross your right ankle over top of the left thigh. Keep a really active flex on that right foot. This might be enough for you. Gently pressing the right thigh away. Some of you might bring a block or something underneath that left foot, getting a little bit of lift. Or maybe you draw the thighs toward you. You don't have to use your hands. You can just use the strength of your core. Or maybe you interlace your hands behind the left thigh or around the left shin, whatever feels better for you. But try to keep the tension out of the neck and shoulders. So wrapping the shoulder blades toward each other a little bit. And you can rock a little bit from side to side. Whatever feels good here. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. And then slowly unwind. Shake it out a little bit. And then when you're ready, we'll switch sides. Right foot comes to the floor. Left ankle crosses over top of the right thigh. Really active flex on those left toes. Belly button to spine if you want to. You stay here. You might bring a block or a little bit of lift under that right foot. Or maybe you bring the legs toward you without using your hands. You could also use a strap behind the leg. That's a really nice modification. You can rock a little bit from side to side. You don't have to draw it super close toward you because you'll find that stretch wherever you need to be. Slowing the breath down. Slowing the mind down. And then slowly, gently unwind. Shake it out a bit. Heel into the feet. Mat width apart. Let your knees hang in toward each other. This might just be your pose of rest today. You could bring a little bit of lift underneath the hips, a block or something like that, and take it into supported bridge. You might just extend the legs and rest on the floor. In Shavasana, you could rest on your side, or a seated meditation, or maybe child's pose sounds like a really good idea. For 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh. And a breath away. Last couple. And then stay here wherever you are for a few more minutes. as many as you can manage in your day. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.